a huge artist steals your beat, remakes the beat, you catch them, you file a takedown, and then they send their army of fans to harass you. But somehow that ends up helping you in a weird way.
It ends up helping me. And I have proof of everything as well. I mean, the producer even admitted that he did it.
Let's be honest, you're not gonna find these videos anywhere else. Why? Because I make them. So it would really help me out if you subscribe. If you've already subscribed, what also really helps is if you like the video and leave a comment. It's hard in the era of clickbait videos on YouTube and negativity in the producer community. And I appreciate your support. Thank you so much.
I'm sure a lot of producers are caught in that same cycle that you were back, between the years of 2006 and 2017, where they're quitting, they're coming back to it, they're starting over, they're giving up. What changed for you in 2017 that made you say, you know what, this time is different, I'm not going to give up?
Yeah. To be honest, I owe it to social media, because that was when I was being the most active on my Instagram account. So with all kind of like the hashtagging and all, just basically how the algorithm works, I found a load of online producers who are posting their content up online, whether it be one minute beat videos or like a minute cook-up video. And that kind of got the ball rolling. And I think that's how I found Beatstars as well. Yeah.
Got it. So I know the last time we spoke, I asked you about your favorite VSTs, and you said Serum. Is that still number one for you?
I've actually collected a whole bunch of new VSTs. I'm a big fan of Contact right now. In particular, more of the Native Instruments, their own libraries. They do some really good guitar libraries. I know people have been asking me, do you play guitars and stuff? I'm not a guitar player. Sometimes I record kind of little bits of like mute guitar, but for any sort of guitar programming, I would recommend Native Instruments, as well as some stuff by Orange Tree Samples. Pretty good.
Any ones in particular that you really find yourself going to all the time when you want that guitar, that authentic, realistic guitar sound?
Yeah, you can get some pretty convincing stuff with Orange Tree Samples. It's a library called Evolution Strawberry. I know they got a bunch of other ones as well. But with Native Instruments, there's the strummed acoustic guitar as well, which is pretty good because you can dial in melodies as well as strum patterns, and it's pretty versatile in what it does. As for other plugins and stuff, I've been stocking up on my EQs. I'm a big fan of Pro Q3. I don't know, something about the precision about that plugin that I really like. And Ozone as well for some kind of subtle mastering stuff. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, we gave away 3 copies of the new Ozone 9 Advanced a couple of weeks ago here. I was jealous of all the winners. I think some of the winners are in the chat. So once again, congratulations to all of them, because that's a really amazing and expensive plugin. So I was happy that we could give that away. Expensive. But I mean, it's worth it. I mean, I know the people. I have RX8 RX8, and I love it. I mean, no other plugin can do what it does, and I don't think any other plugin can do what Ozone, the mastering suite, can do.
Yeah, it's real powerful. Yeah.
And it looks like Cloud9 actually has a couple questions. The first question was, do you have a drum kit that you prefer? And then also, do you plan on releasing your own drum or sound kits?
Yeah, so I tend to go to this guy called Cream. It's not pronounced as you would normally. It's like Kreaem. Or something like that. But basically, the guy's he makes good samples, including drum samples as well. I think you can find this stuff on Splice. I tend to use this stuff a lot, and just pretty much anything that's organic and clear and well recorded. I'm a big fan of organic sounds. I use it a lot in my productions. For trap stuff, definitely Decap. He's got probably one of the most hardest collection of drums, if not the hardest. By hardest, I mean like it knocks real hard in the mix, and there's not much processing that you need to do into it. But otherwise, sorry, what was the other question?
Do you plan on dropping a sample kit or a drum kit?
I'm a bit funny about that stuff, you know, because I'm the type of guy where I'd need to record everything fresh. You know, I can't really take someone else's sample and manipulate it to a point where I think, okay, this is beginning to sound like my own work. I have to record everything organically, like a lot of producer friends that I know do. So I don't know if that's going to be on my list of to do, but otherwise, maybe sometime in the near future, we'll see. I mean, there's a mic behind me, so you know we might get to work on that stuff. Depends on how many people will probably buy it.
Yeah, I'm seeing new equipment in your studio since the last time we spoke. That mic is new, right?
Yeah, so that's the SM7B, B7, something like that. Yeah, pretty good mic. A lot of people use it, go for vocals, and amongst other things. Otherwise, I haven't really upgraded much. I've got the Apollo Twin X interface. I really like that. Don't plan on getting rid of that soon. But we're going to update the monitors. I'm still using the Yamaha HS7s. We're going to upgrade them to the Barefoot. The Barefoot ones. Got the name, but yeah, pretty much another pair of active monitors. That's pretty much it. Yeah.
Are you going to keep Are you going to keep the other monitors and just kind of, because you can? Yeah. I know you didn't ask, but there's there's something called a big knob that Mackie makes, and you just plug both pairs in, and with one button you can switch between the pairs. It's really cool to reference in more than one. Yeah, and it's cheap too. It's like $60 or something.
So kind of like you switch in between when you're referencing. Yeah.
You can switch between
definitely
3 different sources. They have 2 monitor inputs and then 1 auxiliary input, so you can switch between all 3. And then you can also one-click toggle between mono and stereo. So it's really good for referencing when you're mixing, because a lot of times you want to reference in mono and you don't want to have to go into your DAW and switch it up. You can just click a button, half a second, there it is, you got it. It's called the Mackie Big Knob. I'm not recommending it because they're paying me to say that or anything. I wish they were, but they're not. But it is. It is nice.
That some of us need. Yeah,
I needed it because I have the M Audios and the HS8s, and you know they're different. So I want to sometimes listen in one and sometimes monitor and reference in both. So it is helpful. Right. But enough of that. Right. Let's talk about you becoming a career producer, and making your living solely on beats. What kinds of habits did you have to form, and what kinds of choices did you have to make that helped you become a full-time beat maker?
Yeah, so I'd say the one that really got the ball rolling was mindset, because before anything even started, in 2017, before anything even started, or before I made any music, I knew I had to get into the right mindset, because it was kind of like I was looking into the future and I was kind of predicting how much work would need to be done, if that makes sense. Like I knew there was so much work to be done. So I had to just make sure I got in the right mindset and make sure I was kind of like mentally prepared to put the work in. So that's one mindset. And the second one would be being consistent with it. I know a lot of us online producers tend to talk about this one a lot, but it really is. I just come back to consistency. And as much as it's becoming cliche now, it's probably one of the most important things that you need to do in order to maintain your brand and your business. And just trying to get better every day at what you do as well, meaning with your craft as well. So definitely practicing your mixing and your producing and pretty much everything that comes with being a producer.
So what allowed you to get past knowing that you had a lot to do? Because that intimidates a lot of people. You know, just knowing that if you're starting at zero, you have all of these things to learn about. It's not just about making better music. It's not just about learning to mix. It's also about learning to market. It's also about putting yourself on a schedule. And to many people, it's hard for them to just focus on each step and just move forward incrementally. They get overwhelmed because there's so much stuff coming at them.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose the way I said it could be quite intimidating to people, but it is the reality of it. But to make it sound better and to make you feel better, it's like take actionable steps. Like you have the work, you know you have to do the work, and you know you have to build your catalog from scratch, and slowly as well, to make sure that you're getting quality stuff over just quantity. And take actionable steps every day. So long term, you know, your goal is to, whatever it is, make a career out of it, sell beats, get placements, and there's all of this work to do. And there's a long way to go. But if you take actionable steps every day and set small goals in between, you know you can do it. And I like to use like the brick wall analogy for this. I don't know if you heard of it. Basically, it's very basic. Don't say to yourself that you're going to set out and build the biggest, baddest wall overnight. It just doesn't happen. Nothing happens overnight. You say to yourself, I'm going to lay this brick as perfectly as a brick can be laid every single day. And sooner or later, you're going to have a wall. So the principle being, you know, you're going to build it very slowly over time. You're going to have this huge kind of like a thing that you've built for yourself, whether it be your business or your brand. Yeah. So basically just taking it, being patient with it and taking it in actionable steps is what I'd say it is. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's hard. I mean, I'll absolutely co-sign that, because it really is about small steps and moving forward every single day and not really focusing on whether or not the whole wall is built, but focusing on whether or not you're making progress and laying a brick down, you know, every day. So I think that's important. Here's another really challenging part about jumping into making beats for a living. How did you know personally when your beats were good?
I mean, to this day, I still have that kind of imposter syndrome where I don't believe my beats are good. But there comes a time where you build momentum, because whether it be from like a single sale or whether someone DM'd you to tell you that they like your music, that positive bit of momentum makes you feel good. So then you start creating more music. And once you create more music, you get better at it. And once you get better at it, you start to be more confident in the content and music that you produce. And that's when you kind of have those little feelings sometimes that, you know, when you've finished a beat and you're like, oh, this, you know, you really believe in it and you really think that it's something that, you know, that's worth putting out. And the more you do it, the more you feel confident in your work, and the more you feel your beats are good enough to be heard by people.
So this is a good question. And it's something that I've noticed about your beats. Cloud9 Music says, GC is really good at creating space in his beats for vocals and keeping things simple yet organic. Does he believe that less is more in the beat making process?
Yeah. So obviously, depending on the genre and what sort of vibe or beat that you're going for, it definitely pays to leave space for the artist. Otherwise, the final product is going to be like so muddy, and it's not going to be nice to listen to. But more often than not, I think less is more. Less is more. But again, it really depends. You should trust your ear and your intuition. And basically, the more you make beats, you'll be able to kind of like tell when to dial in a bit more and when to leave a bit more space for the artist. But yeah.
Yeah. Did you have any strategies Did you use like spectrum analyzers? Did you put acapellas in your beats? How did you train your ear to know when your beat was finished and when you needed to just stop adding elements and just create space for the vocals?
I guess because with beats, I always start with the hook first because that's the busiest section of the instrumental. So once you've finished that, I mean, no part of the beat's going to be any busier. So from there, you can either add an extra melody in, or kind of like, you know, on the top line or something like that, and turn the monitors up. And because people don't understand that the voice is an instrument itself, and you've got to leave space for that as well. So once you finish the hook, put a melody in there, hum the melody, whatever it takes to kind of like get it into your ears, and then add or subtract accordingly.
Okay, so you're kind of a proponent, and I've heard this from other producers, especially Bubba Got Beats. Chords, top line, drums, and that's all you need, really.
Pretty much the foundations of a song, yeah.
Okay, have you ever gotten big placements?
The big to me, you know, I don't have like Billboard hits, I don't have plaques or whatever. But speaking of which, when you asked me about 2021, we actually started that off on high. I found out that I got placements with Code to the Friend on his new EP, Lyrics to Go Volume 2. Not just one, but 5 songs as well. So I was really happy about that. And that was also with a producer friend of mine as well. So it was really cool to see, you know, it was all coming together. That's probably the biggest placement that I'd say I've had so far.
Yeah, let's talk about Code to the Friend. There's this narrative among producers and just kind of in the music business that artists, especially bigger artists, don't want tight beats. And Code to the Friend actually tweeted that he made his entire last album, not the last album, because his last album was with Static Selector, shout out to him. The one before that you were on, he tweeted that all of those beats that he added to his album, he found by searching for Code to the Friend type beat.
Yeah, he literally did that.
Okay, so how did that conversation start then with you? Start from the beginning. Where did he find the beats? How did he reach out to you? How did that all go?
Yeah, I woke up one morning and he was in the DMs. He basically, it's real simple. He said, "Yo, these beats you got? I got an EP coming out. You send me them." And from there, we spoke by email. He sent me a private link with kind of old songs that he's had. Shout out to Kota actually for trusting me on that, because I know not every artist would do that with producers. So I listened to them and I found old beats on my catalog, sent them, not even stems. I think I just sent the waves, sent them over. He recorded over it, got an engineer to mix and master. Soon after, he released the EP, and that was that. Followed up with a conversation with him, and he said, he basically said, "I've used type beats for, you know, from the start of my career, and it would only make sense for me to go back to that for this EP," and that really hit home for me, you know. And not only that, the 1-minute shorts that he dropped on YouTube and Instagram, all of them, me, my co-producer, everyone, added me on publishing on BMI.
Okay, so it was an easy situation to work directly with him. You didn't have any label involvement. You didn't have to deal with people in the middle.
No, it was like my perfect transaction, if you can call it that.
I mean, it sounds like a perfect transaction, to be honest with you, especially given the situations I'm dealing with right now. But Bufo wants to know if you, and I don't even know about this, so this is something new for me. Do you know the artist that made the outro song for CoffeeZilla's channel?
Yeah.
Apparently you produced that. Talk about that, because I don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, CoffeeZilla found he's like a YouTuber who's well known on YouTube. He found one of my beats, my lo-fi beats, and wanted to make like an outro song to it to be used on every video. So basically, he just bought an unlimited license, and it's funny because a lot of people DM me asking me about, do I know that this happened? And I said, well, yeah, because he personally reached out to me on Instagram. Shout out CoffeeZilla as well. But it's funny because he's been having trouble with my MCN on YouTube, copyright claiming him on every video, which is weird because we often license our beats to artists, not YouTubers that much. So every time he uploads it, he gets a claim. And my MCN wouldn't whitelist his channel, which was frustrating because he paid money. You know, I want him to have the best experience possible. But that's pretty much it. But he's all right with it. Yeah, I don't know how he sorted it, but he's all right with it.
So he just has to file a dispute every single time that he uploads. That's frustrating.
I assume so.
But I mean, it's happening to producers as well. I don't know if it happens. It happens to me every day where I'm getting copyright claims against my YouTube channel because somebody else used my beat and is claiming ownership of it through a content ID system. So I always have to file disputes, and it's a very frustrating system, and it doesn't seem as though it's working for everybody. I mean, it's definitely not working for the modern musician who is probably licensing music or using royalty-free loops or whatever. I don't know if it's ever going to change, but it really does inconvenience us. I don't know your experiences with the content ID samples. I think it's a mess.
It can get messy, definitely, because people are registering their own works, including ourselves, with our MCNs and the content management. But I think the most important thing is for any party to speak up about it, get in touch with the other party before getting into kind of like the nasty stuff, which is like copyright takedowns and whatever. Because 9 times out of 10, it can be sorted that way and straight through the YouTube studio. You can file a dispute on the claim, the other party will see it, and it should be done within 2 weeks, if not earlier. So
yeah, communication is definitely key. Speaking of which, what's one of the topics that comes up a lot for you when you're dealing with customer service inquiries? Rappers, singers who buy your beats. What is their main concern?
Well, communication definitely is key with that one. Sorry, did you say what's the best approaches with customer service?
No, I was saying I mean, that's an even better question. I was going to say what's some customer service inquiry that keeps coming up for you from the artist?
I mean, copyright. I get like inquiries about copyright claims more, but then I sort it out for them. But usually just to do with like licensing, which license is the best for them. And I definitely take the time to kind of explain. And this is kind of like a tip as well, or a hack if you want to call it that. I say quick replies on my phone, on the notes on my phone, for things that I get asked quite often. And that just lets me copy and paste it. But it's definitely, I get questions to do with licensing the most, definitely, yeah.
Yes, I still kind of feel as though beat licensing, even though it's been around for, I don't know how long, 15 plus years, is still really misunderstood. Yeah.
I mean, sometimes I confuse myself over licensing terms and whatnot, because to me, the contracts on Beatstars are really well written in terms of being able to protect us as producers. But I would say to customers, and I hate using that term, I use that term loosely, customers. To artists, it can be very daunting and intimidating. So I try my best to kind of explain what they need to know. You know, before they finish up with anything, with the transaction, I'm always, my last reply will be always for them to ask me any questions. If they're unclear, don't go straight into it. So if you're selling beats online, if you're an online producer, communication with the customer, making the customer feel comfortable is key to whatever it is you want, more business, to good relationships, definitely.
How do you structure your day around providing customer service and communicating and answering DMs and emails and all that? Because it's a lot. And I think one of the things that I hear from artists that are purchasing beats the most is that they find it hard to communicate with the producers whose beats they have questions about.
Yeah. Well, for me, there is no structure. So I'm constantly on my phone and my laptop because I have the email app open. I've got my Instagram open. I use Instagram primarily for communication, which is why I don't really post things on it. Yeah, it's just to be there for the customer as much as you can, especially with me. A lot of my customers are in the States, or 90% of them are in the States. So different time zones. I only really have a small window in the day to get back to them as quick as possible, and that leaves a good impression for them. So I'm constantly on it. And if it means getting distracted from all the good stuff, from the creative process and making a beat, something that I'm willing to do,
Yeah. What time is it where you are right now? Is it early in the morning?
We're on 8:30 p.m. evening.
Oh, damn. Okay. It's early in the evening then. All right,
Yeah,
cool. I was totally wrong. I've only been to the UK once, and I just remember there was a crazy.
Oh, yeah?
I slept for a whole, I think, 24 hours because I was just so jet lagged after the flight, and yeah, it was a rough transition. It's going all the way across the world. Damn, I wanted to pick up on something you said, and I completely forgot about it. So let me move on to a tweet that you posted earlier this year. And it said, "A beat I made in a coffee shop in 2 hours changed my life. Don't overthink it." What's the story behind that tweet? What was the beat? How did it change your life? We want to know.
Yeah, so I was just on the Beatstars app, studio app, just looking at, sales, statistics, analytics. And I wanted to see, I was curious, I wanted to see what was my best selling beat, or what was the beat that kind of like got the ball rolling for me. And it ended up being this one I made called Roses. I think we talked about that one actually from our last interview that we did. And so, yeah, it just really inspired me, because sometimes we think back to the beats we made and we just think to ourselves, like, how do we even make something like that? Will I be able to ever make something like that again? And to me, it really hit home. So I just decided to post it on Twitter, because it happens to anyone, whether it be a placement or a beat that's sold X amount of times. It's the one thing that changes their career for them. And so, yeah, I thought I'd share it.
Yeah, and that beat entitled Roses is at 4.3 million views. Does that continue to sell well and bring you a lot of traffic to this day? Because it's from 2 years ago.
It's definitely not selling as much as it did, but it's still kind of in demand. There's still people who want to work on it, because actually music's timeless. If it's down to whatever the artist thinks or feels like they want to work on in the moment. And so, yeah, I see sales from it still, and I hope to continue doing so.
Here's a question. That beat was so phenomenally successful. 4.3 million is a lot of views. And this is just YouTube. I'm not even counting the Beatstars plays. I imagine a lot of people contacted you to try to purchase the exclusive rights to the beat, but you said no, I'm assuming, because it's still available.
Yeah, I was straight up, like, honest to anyone that asked me for an exclusive, not for that beat. I say
Okay,
like,
yeah. What did you say? Because I get this a lot from my top selling beats. I always feel it's a really bad situation.
I just had the convo down on my phone actually. I wanted to kind of like send it to a friend to say, kind of like make them laugh. But basically, the way it goes is they ask you for the exclusive. You say no, it's not available. They ask why, and I used to just say I don't sell exclusives. I kind of like go in to detail a little bit more so that they know know exactly why, and it's because the beat. I say it's from a business perspective, you know, and not just for me, for the artist as well. Because if an artist can license, if an artist can purchase an unlimited license, which obviously lets them exploit, lets them use the beat on an unlimited basis across all platforms worldwide, they can still earn money off that. I can still continue licensing the beat. People can use it for their own use. People, yeah, they can have the beat, do whatever they want with it. They can get money from it. You know, and everyone's a winner, and that's pretty much what I say to them these days. And besides, it's been licensed out so many times now. I'm not sure if the exclusive is right for you. You know.
Does that usually work as a conversation? Are people usually understanding? I have this conversation all the time, so
yeah.
I love talking about this.
Well, I don't know how else to put it, really. You know, and sometimes I feel guilty not letting them know why. But sometimes I throw in examples as well, and I have friends and artists that I know that I give out free beats to. Doesn't matter if I gave them out for free or whether they bought it off me for like a small license fee. They're okay with me licensing the beat again, but they're making their own songs with it, and they're getting they're collecting their own, royalties from that. So they're making money on their side as well. So everyone's a winner. That's kind of the example that I use all the time,
So, with this beat that was your most successful beat, it probably generated a lot of money, right? Just from being leased.
Yeah, it's pretty much like multiple 5 figures.
Okay, so not quite 6. So you made 5 figures off this beat, probably on the high end, right?
Yeah, I still need to check on that because I checked this like early 2020, early 2020 even. But yeah, it's having other beats as well that have performed the same kind of thing. That's really helped me with that. Which is funny actually, because I've got a catalog of around 300 beats exactly now. Only 10 to 20 of them really make the bulk of the money.
But that's enough money for you. That's enough money for you to live and thrive, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just a really interesting study for me as well, because then I know what people want, what's in demand, what kind of sounds people want. And I can kind of work off that for my next projects. Yeah.
It's interesting to think about just having, making hundreds of beats and only a few of them selling, but that's okay, because the ones that sell the most are the ones that make you money, and you live and you're happy with that.
Yeah. And there's nothing you can do to stop it. I think it's down to like the quality over quantity thing again. Like you can't really have every beat. If you're lucky enough to have a beat perform that well, the chances are you making that again. I'm not gonna say it's impossible, but it's gonna be hard to do. You know what I mean? And it's like trying to make a piece of content go viral. You can't really control it. So you're best off just focusing on making the best music you can and just enjoying the process, and leaving the rest to work itself.
Well, yeah, let's talk about that, because your YouTube channel does consistently well, and it has over the years. A lot of channels have kind of dropped off and views have gone down. I don't know if you've experienced that,
yeah.
But But it's still you're still getting pretty good numbers on the beats that you've uploaded.
I hope so. Yeah.
Well, I'm saying that because I've looked at it and the numbers look healthy.
Yeah, they seem healthy to me. I've been told though, as you say, by friends and stuff, that the numbers are kind of like, I don't know what's going on with kind of 2021, but I find it harder as a producer to rank now. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know. I still don't know how tags work. I'm still using the same system, tagging system. I'm doing everything the same. The only thing that's changed is the year, 2020 to 2021. But I mean, what can we do? We just gotta push on. You know.
What is the tagging system that you use? What kind of SEO do you normally optimize on your YouTube beat upload?
It's really basic. I use TubeBuddy to analyze things, but I tend not to follow it too strict because I want like my own stuff on there as well. But it's just literally a mixture of. I've definitely got my alias on there, GC Beats. I got the year 2021. Artist type beat, artist instrumental 2021, and then any kind of like adjective that would describe the genre or the feel of the beat, kind of like on Beatstars where you pick the mood and the vibe of the beat is what I do. I tend not to saturate the tags, so I don't use it until I'm run out of characters. That's just the way I am. Yeah. I'm quite minimal with my tags, and it seems to work.
You know what's interesting about your YouTube channel is that your beat upload titles and keyword targets are pretty diverse, whereas a lot of producers really focus on one or two keywords for their entire channel. You don't do that, and your numbers are looking good. It doesn't seem to be confusing the algorithm that much, or it doesn't confuse the people who are checking out your beats. How do you come up with these artist type beats, and why do you use such a diverse group of them?
Yeah. Well, just using different tags is because of just what I'm inspired by. You know, I can't really. I guess it's been like that since I started uploading to YouTube, and to me personally, that's one of my selling points. You know, I'm proud to say that I just make whatever I produce spontaneously, and I make what I feel like, or I'm inspired by at the moment, and it's something that I upload as well on YouTube, and I just choose keywords that fit that. But I definitely get why the producers say that, you know, it's good to have a niche, because if you think about it, a niche would really help you really zone in on that kind of particular keyword and help you rank better. And it still works. But for me, it was just purely because I was making different types of music that I'm inspired by, which is why I'm using all these different keywords. And it seems to have helped in my favor.
And go back to you talked about using TubeBuddy. What do you do in TubeBuddy? What tools in TubeBuddy do you use to pick your keywords for your titles?
Well, I don't actually use TubeBuddy for keywords. I use it for like the optimization, so like the placement of keywords, and certain things like the thumbnail, just like different things that it tells you to do that you can optimize your video with. The keywords I actually choose on my own. Basically, I have the extension running on the browser anyway. So when I'm ready to upload anything that I've made during the day, then I know it's there. Tell me optimize the actual, you know, title and description itself. But keywords completely my choice.
Okay, cool. So you don't necessarily know which keywords are more competitive than others. You just pick them because they fit the beat, and that's that.
Yeah, I mean, I have no idea of how keywords might perform for the past 2 years. I've never even checked.
That's an interesting strategy because it is working. So everyone just does different stuff.
Funnily enough,
Well, and you were talking about your thumbnails too, that being part of the SEO optimization process. How have your visuals on YouTube changed over time? How do you determine what your thumbnail should look like? Because your colors are I think they're consistent, but the look has changed.
oh, the thumbnail, TubeBuddy just tells you to have a high resolution thumbnail, which you should be doing anyway. As thumbnails, I change kind of like every, I don't know, half year maybe. So now I believe it's on like some Polaroid type thing. I just fancy the change. You know, I went on Adobe Stock, got the template, tried it out. It seems to be all right. Knowing me, it'll probably change again in like a month, but I don't know. I could just kind of go with, again, I just go with what I feel like. But I find, if there's something I would say, I find the old thumbnails tend to work better. The simpler, the better. I don't know what it is about simplicity. So back then I just have like an illustration or something like that. And maybe like a garish color that would catch the eye. And then people would actually click on it and I'd get more views. I don't know if that's the case. But then I'm going on these producers that I like, and their thumbnails are very plain and very filtered to be very neutral. And I don't know, sometimes kind of boring. And they're getting like millions of views. So I don't know. I guess it's still important to a degree. You know, you want to be eye catching, but in the grand scheme of things, I think the music matters more.
Yeah, I think we talk. I talk to a lot of producers who have very specific strategies for thumbnails and very specific strategies for keywords, and then they're successful as hell. And then I talk to somebody else who is also incredibly successful, and their strategy is completely different. So this is interesting. I think the last time we spoke, you hadn't even hit 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, or maybe you were close to it. Okay, so now I look and you're at basically 250,000. Did that happen pretty fast?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you right now, 40 to 50,000 of those subscribers happened overnight because of some really weird event involving a Vietnamese artist and me. But technically, I should really be on about 150K right now. 150, 160.
Okay, now you have to tell the weird story about the Vietnamese artist.
Yeah, and I think I've spoke to you about this, or Mike Trump about this before. Yeah, so I found out the way it all started. This guy DM'd me, this guy from Vietnam, and he told me that, I think someone's using your beat, and this person happens to be Vietnam's like biggest artist. Think the Vietnamese equivalent to Charlie Puth or something like that. I don't know. I'm just throwing a name out there. And I said, all right, okay, I'll check it out. So I checked it out, and I found that he made this song, and this instrumental that he used was basic. Everything about it was identical. So same instrumentation, same timbre, same arrangement, same hook melody, the same progression, same key. Everything was just identical. So me being me, what I did, I basically filed a copyright takedown on YouTube that didn't come into effect for at least a month, I think, and I totally forgot about it. Looking back in hindsight, I probably wouldn't have done that. but we'll get to that later. Yeah, I've had a copyright takedown, completely forgot about it until I got this email through this one morning whilst I was working. I said, your video's gone, the video's been taken down. Your claim was successful. And so I stopped doing everything. I stopped what I was doing. I stopped working, went on my YouTube channel. Everything seemed all right. But then I went on like the most recent videos and I kept on refreshing. And as I was doing that, I noticed the number of dislikes on those videos slowly start growing. And then minutes passed by, they were going up. It was going up by the tens. So I kind of knew what was going on. You probably kind of gather what's going on already.
Yeah. Your news leaked.
Yeah. It pretty much, yeah. So
that was a bad joke. I'm sorry.
This guy, because Vietnamese fans are so much different to like European or American ones. They come in hordes. So if they idolize like this artist, there's going to be like hundreds of thousands of them, and they pretty much all flock to my YouTube channel. They completely raided my YouTube channel, my socials. So I was like, oh, here we go. What can I do? And they were just like, there's all this hate. Mind you, all of these guys and girls, 15-year-olds, kind of like fanboys, fangirls, just completely raided
but
the
they're
socials.
The worst, man. 15-year-olds are the meanest.
Yeah, I'll tell you that. I mean, they were saying like things about, my mother and all that stuff when they don't even know me, It's like, there was no cultural difference there, an insult's an insult. So I was like, what? Getting all this hate for no reason? Well, not no reason. They carried on doing it for days. It took me ages to kind of like clear my DMs out from Instagram till it hit, zero again. But yeah, and a lot of the comments were in Vietnamese as well, so I don't even understand some of the insults that they were throwing. Funnily enough, there was kind of like this antithesis as well to the artist. There was another group of people who were a fan of my work and who are also kind of like haters of this guy. So I mean, I don't advocate hate, but I did what I did because I guess I was so heated in the moment. That's something that I forgot to talk about, actually. I'd say in hindsight, I wouldn't have done something like that. But because I'm so new to the game as well, or I consider myself to be so new, and this isn't a situation that I've come across before, I guess I acted in the moment because I heard it, and the only thing I felt was anger because I felt like I was being cheated out of my work. Mind you, this beat that I made had already been sold exclusively to a label in New York. So those guys own the masters. What kind of annoyed me was when I hit them up about it by email and said, oh, yo, listen, I think this guy's in Vietnam's kind of like, we got a copyright issue over here. But the more I was talking to this label, I'm not going to name them for obvious reasons, I felt like they were not being hostile, but I felt like I was doing everything on my own and that they weren't kind of making an effort to do anything. But yeah, long story short, I reinstated the video, video on YouTube because obviously to just get these guys off my back, I just had too much heat on the YouTube channel. So that's what I did. That's why I reinstated the video. And yeah, I guess thinking back, what I would have done is kind of like I would have been a bit more patient and diligent with my findings first, because even if they did basically steal the idea of my beat, I could have just like communicated with them first. As much as I don't like them now, as professionally or as business people, I still should have reached out to them first and kind of sorted out in an amicable way, as to avoid, damage being done to like social channels and stuff. Yeah. But funnily enough, it's kind of helped me anyway in the long run. in terms of YouTube. Yeah.
Okay, so a huge artist steals your beat, remakes the beat, you catch them, you file a takedown, and then they send their army of fans to harass you. But somehow that ends up helping you in a weird way.
It ends up helping me, and I have proof of everything as well. I mean, the producer even admitted that he did it. But I'm not gonna get into all of that kind of like nasty stuff where I start sharing DMs and screenshotting stuff. I'm a grown man. I don't need to do stuff like that. I don't need to humiliate people. I don't need to start talking back to these 15-year-olds. And so, but what I would say is that neutrally speaking, there is a huge difference in copyright law and between the West and the East that needs to be sorted. What I would say that the system over there is perhaps not as polished, or they may not have heard about things such as copyright law, but yet they're still, banking potentially off of people's work, and I think that needs to be sorted. But yeah, it happened to a friend of mine as well, and I'm not going to disclose his name either because there's things that are quite confidential related to his copyright claims. Shout out to him actually. But yeah, that's when I didn't feel alone actually, because it was kind of happening to this guy at the same time, and we were like talking about it. So, but yeah, I won't wish this stuff on anyone. For a week I was really, really frustrated at this guy and kind of like the way he's handled it. He didn't really have the courage to speak out to me either about it. So it's like,
Yeah, that's what's weird to me, that nobody reached out to you. Like, no one from his team, he didn't personally, the producer didn't reach out to you because you basically had all the power in the situation because they stole from you. So, I don't know.
The CEO reached out to me. We had a talk, and he was, and I say this very diplomatically, he was kind of like, he was begging for me to put the content back on the channel. But I just wanted to keep it professional. I told him why I did it. I told him kind of like how to avoid stuff like this in the future. And bear in mind, this artist has a known history of plagiarism as well, about 8 or 9 times throughout his career. So it's kind of like, where's the coincidence? It's a bit of a coincidence there that I was the first person apparently in Vietnamese national news to have done something. They made national news out of me, which was really funny. I didn't know they take the stuff kind of like that seriously, but I was kind of like the first person to have the courage to speak up and do something about it. So I'm kind of proud in that respect. But, that's all blown over.
Yeah, and I understand what you're saying, that you acted on your anger at the time, and that's regrettable. I've certainly done the same. I also think there's some kind of middle ground, and a lot of producers are afraid to assert themselves in these kinds of situations. So I guess, what would you have done differently knowing what you know now?
Yeah, you definitely want to do your research and just make sure that you're ready to go through with it, because once you do, there's no going back. Take that copyright claims, copyright takedowns, DMCA takedowns. It's all nasty stuff. Getting legal involved, getting lawyers involved. It's an aggressive move. You don't want to get, you don't really want to delve into that stuff, because it's just taking away your energy, taking away the positive vibes, taking away your creativity, and it's just a waste of time, and it just makes you feel kind of bad at the end of the day, even if you're right. But in retrospect, I would definitely be a bit more patient. I would reach out to them first, even though I feel like I'm wrong. I would make sure that, that there's at least a communication channel between us, and take it from there. It's not necessarily you have to it's not necessarily financial compensation that you're looking for. It's more like an understanding between both parties, kind of thing.
Okay, let's switch gears a little. We only have a couple minutes left. I want to be respectful of your time. You currently have 117,000 Beatstars followers, which is a lot. Well, it's a lot. How did you build up such a huge following on the BeatStars platform?
I'll be honest with you. I think the majority of that is due to BeatStars and users reposting my work. I think reposts go a long way on the platform, and playlists. That's what I want to say. Playlists as well. I noticed that from 2019 to 2020, my beats were added onto a couple of BeatStars playlists. So obviously the exposure was greater. So yeah, I think those things really helped me get following on BeatStars. It's actually quite hard to get followers on BeatStars, if I'm honest.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of producers are selling beats just off of the BeatStars marketplace, which means their sales aren't coming from YouTube. They're not coming from DMs. They're not coming from Instagram. Do you find that having that many followers increases your marketplace sales?
Yeah, definitely. So in your analytics on the dashboard, you can see kind of like the sales from the marketplace as opposed to the what's the green thing called?
The pro page sales.
Yeah, pro page sales. And the marketplace pretty much dominates most of the time.
Yeah, so it's kind of like BeatStars is becoming the YouTube now, where people are going straight to beat. I mean, and there are plenty of people searching YouTube. There are plenty of people searching SoundCloud, Audio Mac, all these platforms. But a lot of producers forget that a lot of artists who want to buy beats go directly to the source, which is beatstars.com, and search right there. So what are some ways that you incentivize people to subscribe now? I mean, do you have a pretty consistent upload schedule? How many beats do you upload a week? What's your schedule?
Now my schedule's not as strict as it used to be. I've kind of let off the gas a bit, but that's because of kind of like getting a work-life balance type of thing. But I'm still trying to push out 2 to 3 beats a week. I think that's a reasonable number in terms of giving out content and getting a work-life balance as well. BeatStars users can be active. I think every time I upload a beat, the main followers tend to engage with it more, obviously. But yeah, to anyone out there, just keep doing it. You know, keep using YouTube and BeatStars to your advantage.
All right, cool. Last question then. How do people follow you, reach out to you, listen to your tracks, interact with you, so forth? You said you're most active on Instagram, right?
Yeah, even though I don't post things socially on Instagram, I post stories, don't do any feed posts, but I talk a lot on Instagram. So my DMs are always open.